learn about the off-grid lifestyle and to be inspired to live your dreams, click subscribe so you don't miss anything. Hit the bell notification. So as you know, we put the meat birds out here, what, 3 days ago? I'm really surprised. We haven't lost any chickens yet, any of the meat birds. We bought 25, they gave us 28, and we still have 28. So this is, I think, Wednesday. So tomorrow these guys will be 3 weeks old. And so that means in 5 more weeks, we'll start butchering the biggest ones. I'm gonna get myself another camp stove. We have one camp stove and we get another one, because we have 2 pressure cookers now. So when we can them, we were originally going to can 3 chickens at a time, but now we'll be able to can 6 chickens at a time. So I'll butcher 6 at a time. To me, every day that these guys are running around is another day that something can go wrong. If I can butcher 6 in a time instead of 3, that'll just be better. See how they do that? One of the chickens will find something to eat, like a worm, and they, instead of eating it, they just run around so everybody can chase him. Now, I built this dome coop here. I was hoping that they would sleep under that at night, but they don't. It's odd. They'll sleep outside. So last night I put these 2 bins around them because they were sleeping in that corner. So they would kind of be hidden a little bit from any predators that might come by. I think I got where all the wildlife cannot get in here now. I think it's pretty much raccoon and fox proof. Of course, I guess a raccoon can get up on top and figure out a way to get it through the tent material, but for the most part I think I got it. But the one thing that has been worrying me is snakes. Now, I haven't seen any copperheads this year, but I have seen several black snakes, and there's no reason why a black snake wouldn't come in here and try to get one of these guys. I put down these little granules yesterday, you may see here. So I just went to the local farm store and bought some snake away. The reviews on Amazon, I went to Amazon and checked the reviews. The reviews were off and on. 65% said it was effective, the others didn't like it. But one of the people who said they didn't like it specifically said they didn't follow the instructions. You don't put it in an area that's already has snakes. This is to prevent snakes from coming. This stuff smells like mothballs, but what happens is this stuff is supposed to disrupt their senses, the snake's senses, so they don't want to come near it. We'll see if it works. I mean, like I said, I haven't had a big problem with snakes this year. It's been a pretty cool year this so far. My guess is all the snakes have been up on the road trying to warm up. You know, they get on the blacktop to stay warm. I've seen a lot of dead snakes on the road, so that kind of tells me something. But now it's warming up. They may come out and start doing some hunting now. So I thought I'd better take some preventive action. My security system, I got that little owl that flashes. I've showed you that in the past. It has not went off once at night, so that's really good. I'm thinking that we've got this all pretty well secured. So we got down to our last bag of 22% meat bird starter grower food. When we got the meat birds, we started them out on medicated 18%. And I know people are gonna say, oh, you don't want medicated and all that. It really is a personal preference. And Carolyn and I just felt like that we wanted to err on the side of caution. So we fed them the medicated food for a week, well, until the bag was empty, but that was about a week. Isn't that something? Those little birds can eat 40 pounds of food in a week. I mean, they were a lot littler then than they are now. So just imagine that. So we started them out on medicated, and then we fed them one full bag of 22%, and then we started in on this bag yesterday. It's already half empty. So that tells you how fast they go through this food. They say that 25 chickens can go through about 450 pounds of food in their lifetime, meaning the amount of time it takes until their butcher time. Since we already fed them 2 bags of food and we started in on a third one, we went ahead and bought 4 bags. That would still leave us a little bit short, but we didn't want to overbuy, because once we start butchering, we don't want to have extra left over that we have to hang on to until next year. So you give them this 22%, and the reason you give them 22% is that's protein. And the more protein they have, the faster they'll develop meat, so you can butcher them faster. Again, I'm not too excited about having to hang on to these chickens very long. They're not very weather resistant, tolerant. They don't like the cold, they don't like the hot. Of course, I would rather raise them during the hot weather, because it's easier, in my opinion, to keep them cool, being off-grid, than it is to keep them warm in the winter. So if I have to cool them down, I can just use water. I can start the well up, spray them down, or I can get a tub out there. We can rinse them down a little bit. We can do that a few times a day. That should keep them cool. But if it gets too cold, I mean, the only thing we can do is start a fire. I mean, what else could we do? Now, something else that Carolyn's doing is she's making her mesh. I've talked about this. She's fermenting her mesh. She puts chicken scratch in a coffee can like this and lets it ferment for 3 days. Each day she stirs it several times a day, and it smells fermented. Whew. She's also bought some of this wheat, I don't know what it is, oats and different things. She's been using that as well, and that cuts down on the cost of having to feed them so much, because they really like this. Now, the thing about the fermented food is it helps reduce diseases, helps them from getting salmonella and those kind of nasty bugs. The fermented food processes through their system better. The protein food, they waste a lot of it. Of course, it just goes right through them, so it doesn't absorb into their body as much. But the fermented food, most everything is absorbed. So you're actually using less food and getting more out of it. I tell you, as terrible as our garden was last year, this year our little test garden is doing just so amazingly well. It's just incredible how well it's doing. Carolyn's getting lunch out of this garden every day, tomatoes and cucumbers. You saw the watermelon. She's got 2 or 3 watermelon now. I cleared all this area out last winter so we could get more sun in the evening time, and that has worked out really well. So next year we want to enlarge the garden, of course, and we'll go this direction. I think there's lots of property here, but we still have a lot of trees. So this winter you and I will get to cut these down. You'll get to watch me cut these down, get us all cleaned up, and then we'll have a huge garden next year. Carolyn has talked about trying to put some garden items up here. I just don't know if this property, this land up here, is ready yet. it had all those cedar trees, and cedar trees are so non-conducive to allowing things to grow around it. So that may take a couple years to clean up before we could grow anything. I've showed you this over here, but the mesh I was telling you about, Carolyn would put corn in the mesh also. The chicken scratch has corn in it. So the chickens, when their chickens were over here, I just moved them over to there, would scratch around and they throw that corn to the side. Well, all this grew up, so I left this, and this will be really good for the wintertime for the chickens. This will help them gain some fat, helping to insulate them in the wintertime. So you want to give corn and corn stalks to chickens. So when this grows up, we'll pull the corn off, if there is any. I don't know if there'll be any corn on it. We'll let the corn stalks dry out, put them in the camper, and then Carolyn can just mix that right into her mesh feed, give them to the chickens each day. That'll really fatten them up. Carolyn started growing some more cabbage. Well, some more cabbage. She started growing cabbage. I know that a lot of people don't like cabbage, but cabbage is actually pretty good. I mean, making a coleslaw, everybody eats coleslaw. But I find cabbage is pretty good just as a salad. I don't like cooked cabbage. I don't actually like a lot of cooked vegetables. It's funny. I don't like peas, but I can eat peas if they're not cooked. But cabbage is good for helping fighting those free radicals, you know, the cancer-causing cells. I'm big into naturalism. My grandfather was a naturalist, so I do a lot of those naturalist type of things. Our food production for this year is still doing really well. I'm pretty excited about how things are going to go this fall. So I hope I can inspire you to get excited when things are going right in your dream. Thanks for watching.